This case, I mentioned the rutiles. There's several varieties here. These almost look like Chinese characters in front. That's the way they come out of the ground. It's most unusual. And some wonderful lustrous rutile crystals in the back from that same find as the rutile after anatase. A couple of interesting bent knee or twinned rutile crystals here. This one in particular looks like somebody had mitered it together. It was such a perfect angle. And these are exactly 60 degrees. The Carnegie Museum, as a quick example, has one of these twins with 5 of the possible 6 sides to make it all the way around. There's only the bottom edge missing. So you've got this going all the way around. So it's got 5 hexagonal, if you will, faces or pieces that come back together, and it's about 2 inches deep, the one they have in the museum. It's really an incredible piece. I really love that one. Obviously the center point in this case is the Imperial Topaz from Oro Preto. This is one of the largest known. Barry Ample has most of the big ones. This did not come from his mine, which is probably the only reason we managed to get it. He's kept most of those. And here's a triplet. There's 3 intergrown crystals that is as much red as it is orange. Just an incredible piece. And it's actually, we got it, I detached it to play with the crystal and discovered it's doubly terminated. All 3 crystals have complete terminations on the bottom, which is why I've tried to angle it here so you can actually see the terminations down there. They're very clean, and I had to bury one of them. They have it glued to the base, but that's just a spectacular piece. And this is one of our favorite varieties of minerals too, another gem quality material, the chrysoberyl. The really fine ones are sixlings, as this is, where you have what is really 3 V twins. They're twinned as pairs to form a V. You can see right on the top, and then there's another cyclic twin of a V twin beyond that, and the final complete the cycle, another V twin on the third side. The back side is just as good as the front side. It's always a debate as to which side to put forward, because it is a complete growth in both directions symmetrically down the center point vertically. And in this case, it's a gem quality extensions, certainly in these top arms as well, and several other similar examples. There's a nice cyclic sixling here, an unusual tabular. I'm not sure how to explain this V twin. It's a tabular V twin chrysoberyl that is most unusual, and another tabular one here. So there's a variety of odds and ends in here that are pretty nice.
Okay. This is a case I put together because I'm an artist, and when I grow up, I hope to be Fred Wilde, who is my favorite artist, by the way. I wanted to put together kind of a fun case to entice people to think about art. Art was the way that we used to represent minerals, and we would keep the provenance and the history by painting the minerals. And I think you get to know a mineral so well when you're painting every aspect of it, almost like being with a microscope all day long looking at it. So this is a little example of a work in progress that I did. Painting from photographs and whatnot. And here's a bastnasite, and there's a little bastnasite sample with a gemstone next to it. And this is basically how I set up. I take a pad of paper and I put a photo of the mineral up in front of me, and I just paint it by looking at the photo right in front of me. I also like to do pencil sketches, and this is a brief pencil sketch that I did of this wolfenite, which looks like a butterfly to me. It's just absolutely beautiful. And when I unpacked that, I was holding my breath as to whether it made it okay, and it's just fine. So it was kind of a fun case of trying to make people remember that minerals were painted before we had cameras.
Moving on to the next case here, we have in here 6 of our pieces that have been on covers of major mineral magazines. We actually were reminded that we left one home. We had a cover of a French magazine, Lorraine, as well. It was a combination sweetomine rhodochrosite with fluorite on matrix. That was an interesting piece that didn't make it. I'd forgotten that we did in fact have the magazine cover, which is what we wanted to have as part of our backdrop. And we've also had rhodochrosite from South Africa that was on the cover of Rocks and Minerals in years past. That, in fact, was a Marty Zinn piece once upon a time as well. It's not here, imagine that. But this piece in the center, this cluster of wonderful topaz crystals came from China. This was our very first cover of a piece that we own. This was the cover of the second China special issue that came out about a year and a half ago that is shown here in the top. And the so-called China, I take it back, that was the first cover, wasn't it? China 1. So this was their first ever China special issue. And we didn't know they were going to be doing this. Wendell Wilson pulled this out of a stack of photos unbeknownst to us. And unlike the norm for getting a cover shot, this one was actually selected by the editor. And this was actually our second cover of a mineral we had. Only 5 months later, Rocks and Minerals put this on the cover of their magazine, which is an Orongo Mountain, doubly terminated aquamarine. It's unusually transparent from that particular locality. Just a vibrant colored see-through crystal with green see-through fluorites on the white microcline crystals with a Schorl tourmaline on the side, and the combination is just incredible. It's very unusual to have all of those, particularly the fluorites, together, and this is one of the few pieces that has that.
And I want to tell a brief story about that. I had volunteered to help Rob Levinsky unpack a large amount of these from the Charlie Keyes group. So I was over there just helping, just to be nice. And I was pulling out many, and I came across this one and pulled it out. And one of the fun things about unpacking minerals is that you get first choice quite often. And so this is a piece that I thought, this is really beautiful. So I'm glad I was there that day unpacking, and I put it aside.
I'm glad she was too. This piece here is one of the few pieces that's been on 2 covers. It was on Rocks and Minerals. What it is a Bristol mine from Connecticut, and how appropriate that I'm talking to the Connecticut Valley Mineral Society or Association. And this chalcocite was on the cover of Rocks and Minerals in 1996, I think it was, and also the cover of Matrix magazine, both of which are in the back here. These are twinned crystals of chalcocite, so it gives you this unique tabular form. This, in fact, was the mineral that they used as a guide. If you look at the, I think it's the Rocks and Minerals logo, if I'm not mistaken, it's a chalcocite twin like of this material that is their magazine's logo graphic is the reference. This was, and behind that is a pink fluorite cluster from Pakistan. At the time that this was a cover in the top there, those were considered the largest and finest pink fluorites known in the world. They've since, with new finds, been surpassed by quite a bit of new material, especially from, again, Pakistan primarily, as well as a few other places, but it was an interesting acquisition. On the back side here, this was a former Jim and Dawn Manette piece. This wonderful pyromorphite from Bunker Hill was a cover of Mineralogical Record in '98, I believe it was. It's just a wonderful piece with this huge reaching pyromorphite crystal. Almost looks like a solar flare coming off the sun, the way it jumps out like that. And last but not least is one of my favorites of all, which is this was the pink fluorite that was the cover of the special Peru issue from Mineralogical Record, that is transparent pink fluorite. You can literally see through these crystals to the underlying crystals underneath it. It's more than just matrix. There's pyrites. It was also a Marty Zinn piece. There are pyrites that have pseudomorphed into galenas, and there are actually some crystals here that are in transition. They're halfway between one or the other. It begs the issue as to whether they're epitaxially or otherwise coated by a galena on the pyrite, or are they in fact a chemical transfer? It's not clear, but much of it's pushed down into the base here. The bottom side is just as interesting to me as the top side of this piece. It's just a fascinating piece.
Let's work our way over here.
Run over to